Time's running. Welcome to our talk about mobile and embedded development. My name is Markus Bauer, and actually I have started with embedded development, with open source embedded development already in 2002 on the compact iPad. There was a distribution called Familiar, which still somehow exists on handhelds.org. Both varieties with the Qt and the GTK Plus. The Qt was called QPE and the GTK Plus was called GPE. So I started in 2002, and at that time it was really a long way to actually get anything compiled, cross-compiled for these kind of platforms. And last year I started a new project which is called Tango GPS, which started out for the OpenMoko phone, for the OpenMoko free runner. And so I have been doing lots of embedded development, and the question for me was like, how can you actually ease development, embedded development? Huh? And especially if you're coming from the desktop side and you want to say, okay, I want to go into it, how do you get into it, and how do you can actually lower your barrier of entry? Huh? So how can you easily get started? How can you get up to speed like in no time? Huh? So I'm currently working for a company in Paris, which is the reseller of the OpenMoko phones, and so they are actually sponsoring this project. We are developing that in the company. And so the idea is for the desktop developer to bring the embedded development to you in absolutely no time. So I go on here with my slides. Oh, that was one too fast. Okay, so one of these typical ideas about embedded development is you have a steep learning curve. To get started with embedded development, you first have to go into, for example, Scratchbox, or have to go into Open Embedded. And until you get this running, until you understand what's going on there, you first have to sit down, and it takes lots of time. It brings me immediately to my first question. Who is actually embedded developer here? Embedded developers? Okay, so who knows Scratchbox? Okay, oh, very few. Open Embedded? Oh, very few too. Okay, so the idea was for us actually to start and make embedded development easy with a snap. And the thing is, the technology has changed in the last years. So while in 2002, actually the flash memory was still very expensive, the real point nowadays is that flash memory has become extremely cheap. You get a 2 GB micro SD card for €4, €5. Okay, so the point now is that actually you can get your whole system onto the chip, and you can do your development immediately on the system. So you can completely forget about all this cross-compile environment, all this nightmare. Nothing against Scratchbox, it is a great project. Nothing against Open Embedded, is a great project. But have a look how long it takes you to set these systems up. OpenMoko, they have a system called Moko Makefile to set up automatically the Open Embedded cross-compilation environment. How long does it take? In the best case, 24 hours. So 24 hours until you have your system running. So if you go with Scratchbox, it's the same. Usually you have, well, it takes you not 24 hours, but it takes a couple of hours until you have everything set up. And if you now say, okay, actually we can go, and we can put everything onto a micro SD card, that changes your whole setup, that changes your whole approach. And immediately, I see you have already been doing this kind of things. So immediately you're completely rid of that. You're completely rid of Scratchbox, you're completely rid of Open Embedded, and embedded development stops being embedded development. It is like developing on your desktop. And that's the point what we have been doing. So, yeah, just go here forward with my slide. Exactly, that's one of the things. Setting up the cross-compile environment is a time-consuming, tedious process. And it is no longer true. Put that on the SD card, and we have made our project so that actually you just have a tarball. You untar it on the SD card, so you put the SD card in the card reader, you untar it, and you're finished. You're done. So no more flashing, especially if you do embedded development. You always have to flash it into the device. No more flashing, you put it into an SD card, so it depends. We are currently developing for the OpenMoko Freerunner. Put it onto the SD card, flip it in, and you're started. And this is the second thing, because quite often you're working on different projects. So you need to have different setups, and every time you change your setup, you're sitting there again, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, reflashing. And then something goes wrong, and you have to repeat this process. And I've been doing that so much in these last years, that after some time you're just completely fed up with it. Now what do we have? We do have a micro SD card. You simply buy a couple of them because it costs nothing anymore. They're now like €5. €5 you have for every development, for every project. You have your micro SD card. You have a couple even for every project. You flip it in. 2 minutes later, you're in the environment, and you can already start compiling. Okay, go on here. So what is it? So the name of the project is called Hackable One. And basically it is Debian on a micro SD card with everything already installed. Because we're all used that everything goes really fast. Nowadays you do an update install, 15 seconds later it's on your computer, readily installed. Not so on an embedded platform because it's simply slow. It is everything there, you have a good hardware, but things are slow. So what we have been doing here, with all the libraries already on the micro SD card, we simply use the space. We have 2 gigabytes of a micro SD card, you put everything in there, and when you do development, it's not, oh, this header is now missing, oh, this library is missing, nothing. Put it in, go on, start development. Okay, so what have we been doing? We are using the GTK Plus stack, so we are GNOME, kind of GNOME mobile initiative. You probably have heard GNOME has a project, part of the GNOME project is mobile and embedded. And so we are here using pretty much the same out of the GNOME mobile software stack. So we're using the same libraries, GTK Plus, dbus, Evolution Data Server, everything already there on your platform. What else do we have? We do have a stack of PIM applications, so personal information management informations, and we do have phone applications. They're still quite rudimentary, but we do have a dialer and we do have an SMS application. Actually, what we did, OpenMoko had been developing these kind of applications, and then they just dumped the whole development, and so we just went on from there where they left. And we're now going and trying to refine the whole system. But our focus is actually really to set up a system for developers. We're developing ourselves, so we're not making a distribution for, finally, not for the end user. We are making a distribution for developers and simply for devices that are mobile terminals and not really phones. Okay, going on here. Yeah. What is it? It is good to developers, and what does it mean? It is a fast and easy coding platform. So you just start, you sit down, you make your development on your desktop machine, you compile your stuff on your desktop, you see if it is working on the desktop, you make your tarball, kick it over to the, onto the platform, and you just recompile it. And in 99.99% of the cases, it will just compile. So all this process that you had before of making development, embedded development, and you had to go over again in the process, all cut down. You do the development as you're used on your desktop. So if you're a desktop developer, you will be immediately at home. You just start. There's nothing. The differences for you are actually from a completely different corner. So you now have to fight with tiny screens. You have now a small screen, but you have a high resolution, DPIs. There's a good question what you're actually going to do, because some people would say, okay, here you have 285 DPI. So a very high resolution. So but actually it makes no sense to really go with the resolution and make everything small or big, and you will immediately see that you run into problems that you didn't know before. But your development process as such is easy. No change from doing desktop development. So this is really what I want to say, like, if you're already a desktop developer, just try it out. I mean, we're currently here, I have to say, we're currently here based on the OpenMoko platform. We try to extend it to other platforms. Probably has somebody heard from the BeagleBoard? You know the BeagleBoard? a really interesting project. We should probably look it up. What we're doing is mostly for the ARM platforms. Huh? So we're not going into Intel platforms, we're going to ARM platforms simply because they have a completely different spectrum of applications. I'm coming to that soon. I haven't done that here. Okay, yeah, exactly. Here's my next slide. Why do you go ARM, OMAP? Simply because you have a low power consumption. So what I try is like, what is the difference? Oops, there's cable. What's the difference between the Intel platforms and the ARM platforms? Simply because you can go here and you can get away with just a tenth of a watt. So we will have in the future lots of applications that are not phones. They will be just simply applications that you probably a bit bigger like this with a bigger screen, having inside an ARM processor, and they'll be running for hours and hours without needing any kind of recharging. So because if you have a look for the netbooks, they still use 10 watt. And if you go for ARM, you can easily get away with half a watt. So you need a little battery, and you can have applications. And we are now all more and more connected, internet everywhere. We have Wi-Fi, we have 3G coming, prices are falling. So we will have plenty of these applications, of these appliances. And what we are trying to do is simply having a platform for all these upcoming applications. And this is what I want to tell you, what probably my mission is today, is say, if you're a desktop developer, don't miss out. Because all the big companies, they're sitting there, Intel, they're sitting there making open source actually with Moplin. They're pushing millions into it, because they know that this is going to come. And so we have been started it. We have been starting the open source years ago, 2 decades ago. And actually it is us who have been laying this kind of foundation. And I think it is up to us actually to go into there and say like, well, yes, this is going to come, and we go into this kind of future applications. And this means actually starting and getting a feeling for that, getting a feeling for GPRS, getting a feeling for this totally lousy kind of network connectivity. If you have ever been working with GPRS, you get just crazy. Yeah, I see that here. And simply going for that. So if you are already a developer, just grab one of these platforms, either this OpenMoku or, as I said, BeagleBoard is another interesting platform, very hackable, and just go for it and start your development. Okay, one more? Yeah. This is exactly what I was saying, like, what about Intel, Nokia, etc.? So we have Nokia with Memo, we have Intel with Moplin. Why do we need another distribution? And for me it is having fun. Hack yourself. Try to go and say to Intel with Moplin, well, actually I wrote a really nice SMS application, I want to get that into there. Well, come on, it's never going to happen. So this is why I say, like, here, okay, you write a nice SMS application, you can easily get it onto it, because it's, again, we are community. We are the open source community, and actually we can take our place back from the big companies. Okay. Thank you very much for listening, and yeah, that was my talk for today, and I hope I got you interested. Yes. Any questions? Questions? Yes. What I develop on, so I personally use Debian and GTK, and I'm using C. But the platform is actually open to any kind of GTK plus binding. And if you finally decide you want to use Qt, you can use Qt too. C, C++, Python, whatever comes to your mind. Yeah, I'd go up there. Well, currently we are supporting the free runner. We're going to look, there's some work being done on the Zaurus. We're going to go for the BeagleBoard, and we're probably having a look into the Nokia devices too. That was some.
Are you planning to work together with the Debian packages for the software?
Absolutely, from my side, absolutely yes. Absolutely yes, simply because there's so much work to do that it makes no sense to do. Whatever we can share with other people, we want to share with other people, absolutely.
Because they wondered why they haven't been contacted yet.
I have been talking to Joachim Breitner on I see.
Luca Capello is here.
Oh, okay, good, yeah, all right. I'm absolutely open for that, yeah. More questions? Okay, have a nice, great evening, and good FOSDEM. Thanks.